There they are. Hello, everybody. 1, 2. I'm going to turn some of these alerts off so that we aren't interrupted and we can just watch the stream without outside noise. Do 50 seconds. Hurry up, Paulie. You gotta turn off this overlay. They're gonna start. They work well under pressure. There we go. Edit. Box. Settings. Turn it off. All of the alert sounds. Done. Ha! 18 seconds to spare, baby. All right, so we'll see how loud they are, and I'll adjust their volume accordingly, and hopefully that'll do it. Try not to talk over them too much, guys. I wouldn't expect anything about the new chapter.
Close
All right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This was a little awkward. That's not totally because we're doing this from home. I am not Queen, lead community manager on Dead by Daylight. Welcome to this Q&A live stream from our living rooms. Today with me, I have some known faces. So wait, they're here. Okay. So we have Matt Cote and
Hi.
I think you know him. And
I think I've seen that guy once or twice.
Patrick Harris, and apparently my mic is broke.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Did you jiggle the thingy?
I
Turn it off and on again.
Turning it off and on again.
Maybe it's your voice. Maybe get a lozenge or something. You sound scratchy.
Are you a robot, Cap?
I might.
Aha!
be. Listen, this is bound to happen. So for now,
Yep.
I have no plan, no contingency plan,
Okay.
and okay.
And remember,
everyone's
guys,
going with the
I'm not
robot.
connected to them. They can't
We'll
hear
fix
me.
your mic
This
in
is
a
me
future
reacting to what
Okay,
they
there we
say.
You know what I'm gonna do?
I can't ask them
I'm gonna
questions.
try to fix that. I'm sure you guys can handle this.
All right. So let's get started. No, we'll finish. Well, we've done the presentations, so it's just us there. Okay. For now, until we get special secret guests, but that's for later. Okay.
Tony Todd! I would
Let's
lose it.
start.
But
We have a
okay.
long list of questions here, and we will answer as many of them as we can, and we'll try to be educational and entertaining as we do that.
Robot, not queen.
You with me on that, Pat?
I'm with you.
Okay, good. All right, we have a question here. Should we read
What's
the name of
happening?
people? Sometimes there's
Uh-oh.
fun ones.
What's going on?
Where'd our
Sounds
pictures
dangerous.
go? Oh man, we're
What's
having some
going
we're
on
having some
with
picture
all the-
issues here.
Really? Okay.
She is turning it off and on again.
All right.
Like, spoiler alert. I mean, come on.
All right. Let's get to the questions here.
Yeah, we'll get to the questions. We'll let tech guys
Oh,
deal
there
with
we
the
go.
pictures. We'll be all right.
Okay.
That's fine.
Hey, there she is.
But the good news is, and that's something that should make everybody out there feel very comfortable, is the fact that we are all working safely from home right now, which explains some of our technical issues. So there,
Okay.
will we? Oh,
Am I good now?
Yay!
you're much better. Yes.
Yay! It's just
A
a
much
quick
more convincing
turning
robot.
it off and on again.
It's
And
magic.
everything's under control. Awesome.
All right. So please.
What were you saying?
I was just saying that all of these issues can be explained by the fact that we are safely all working from our own homes, which is good.
Yes.
And then I was just about to read the first question, so please, Gab, take it away.
Oh, did we do all the intro and like how
Yeah.
we selected the Q&A?
Nope,
we didn't do
I
that
said
part.
nothing.
Okay, cool. So basically we're gonna explain how we selected the question this time. People posted their questions on the forum, and the most upvoted questions were selected, are also the ones that were asked many, many times. We'll do our best to answer all that we can, but there's some stuff that we just can't answer, or we have to skip because we either can't commit to an answer or we just can't legally talk about it. So there's stuff like that that we had to remove, even if there was a little bit of upvotes on. We're also trying out captions for the first time, so you can see down there, and I'm really hoping it's catching up my accent properly. Apparently
Yeah.
it works, because
Doing a
Very
pretty good
cool.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad, honestly.
in news and announcement, we have two big news today. The Design Your Own Cosmetic contest submissions closed 2 weeks ago, last week. Not sure
There
exactly.
are some
May
was-
3rd.
delicious
third,
things
yeah.
in there.
Exactly. We had over 1,000 entries, so
It
a lot
did.
of people participated, and the winners will be announced during the 4th anniversary stream.
Okay, that's cool.
Which goes to the next point. 4th anniversary stream. Join us on May 26th on Twitch and YouTube for the 4th anniversary stream. We're gonna do one. You'll see. It's from home still. It's gonna be super
Okay.
fun.
It's gonna be super fun.
And we just a note for today. We are not announcing any new content here today. So
Okay,
if you're
there you
here
go.
for that, that's not what we're doing.
people
We're
can
answering
stop
questions
hammering
that
it in
were
the
asked
chat, I'm
on
sure.
the forums. So we're here to answer.
And nobody asked about the new content, so
Yeah, I'm
Well-
sure there were no questions about that.
Actually, I think you're right.
there you go. Woohoo!
All right.
Impossible.
So we're gonna start with the first question. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 pages of questions. So
Let's get to it.
let's get to it. All right. So Mr. Candy Killer is asking, will we ever see Devotion's reward?
Half the viewers leave.
Yeah,
when
I
there's
guess I'll
no
take
new
that
announcement.
one. We do not have a plan for devotion rewards at the moment, but yeah, you're saying here it might be too early to talk about this, but we want to talk about additional prestige rewards. But I'll leave it at that for now, I guess.
Interesting.
that
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay.
we've got a design in the pipe. It's neat. I'm excited. I'm not going to say
Wow,
anything about it
That's
though.
pretty cool.
Okay, that's just terrible
Okay,
way to
so-
start.
We're
Just gonna
leaving
tease people the whole
prestige
way.
Rewards. That's what's
Yeah.
happening right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I see.
Not
Um,
announcing any new content. So
So we have a couple of questions that start with multiple people. It's not the same person asking multiple times. It's a lot of people asking the same question. So will we have an option to disable anti-aliasing?
Oh yes, there was
And
a
what is
lot of those questions.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, what is it?
I want to disable it, but mostly I don't know what it is.
Help me understand. Yeah, I mean, for the less technically inclined of us who don't fiddle with video card settings all the time, anti-aliasing is a video rendering technique for 3D games. Generally, I'm very broadly generalizing here, so don't expect this to be a university class on anti-aliasing, but it's a technique to basically smooth out the edges or the pixelated edges that you see on 3D objects in a 3D game. So generally speaking, you turn on anti-aliasing and your game just kind of looks prettier. You don't see the little pixelated edges around things like characters and backgrounds and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it has a performance cost associated associated with it. I mean, I'm from the olden days of video games. I remember when having anti-aliasing on your game was a pipe dream, and you needed a $10,000 PC to do it. Now you can do it on anything. But there are still people who don't like the sort of performance hit it has or the visual effect it does. Everybody's PCs and everybody's setups and eyeballs are different. And yeah, recently we sort of accidentally disabled the ability to disable anti-aliasing, I believe. So we're
Yes.
we hear ya. We get it. We want it back too. We're working on it right now. I have like designs for the menus and stuff in the pipeline. So yeah, it will be coming as an in-game option in the not too distant future. I don't know
Wow.
exactly which patch it's coming in, but I promise we're working on it, and I promise it's coming.
That's pretty
Awesome.
good.
Okay, Dennis with a lot of S and W's. Any news on fixing hitboxes or hits through the windows?
Yeah, hitboxes and network stuff is my jam. So yeah, the long and short of it is yes. We're looking at fixing a whole bunch of stuff with how hits are registered to make things more fair. One of the main ones that's coming very soon, we're working on it right now. I'm validating builds with it, stuff like that, is to have the dedicated server do a validation of every hit that goes through. So the dedicated server is basically gonna, not to get too technical, but when the killer hits survivor, the dedicated server is basically gonna start doing sanity checks and go, does that make sense? Was that hit possible? Does it line up like in time? Was the survivor within range when that happened? Do all that kind of stuff and validate every hit. So that should make a lot of things like hitting through windows, hitting through walls, hitting from really far away, all that kind of stuff will be made to be a lot more fair. It'll like the server will basically be an authority and go, yeah, that was a fair hit, I'm gonna let that go through. Or if the hit was unfair or otherwise invalidated, the server's gonna go, nah dude, that wasn't a hit, and then the survivor won't take the damage and the game will continue as though the hit missed.
Server's a pretty chill dude.
Wow,
It's
that's
like,
gonna
nah,
be
dude,
like a
good.
Yeah,
very
he's
fast
a pretty
calculation.
chill dude. He kills survivors and doesn't afraid of anything.
Actually, I just wanted to specify that hits through windows is by design.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
you can still
all
hit
of
through
this here
windows.
is about hitboxes and, of course, hits through windows if you're already super far in the ahead.
The vault.
Yeah, in the vault, but not like hitting through window is a basic gameplay mechanic we have.
It's a basic human right.
All right. Leo Cookie is asking, are there any plans for a story mode with AI?
Well, the AI coming in, especially the work that was done on mobile for that, opened the door to a lot of interesting conversations internally. Right
Really?
now, DBD is still very much a multiplayer game, and we can expect it to stay that way. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Cryptically.
Yes. The answer is no.
Yes. Yes, there are no plans.
No, there aren't
yeah.
not any non-plans to undo not that.
Yes.
Oh my
Very
God.
clear.
Tomorrow there's someone that's trying to calculate, but what was the real answer there?
Good luck. I don't even know what it was. So if somebody can tell me what I said, that'd be great.
All right, Young King, the OG, I think. Are you going to improve graphics and air physics in the future?
Yeah, well, the improvements to visuals and improvements in general obviously are something that we spend time worrying about and spend time working on. The hair has always been a bane of our existence to a certain extent, but I think that's for all video games. Yeah. Yes, we'll continue to do what we can to make things better. I think that if you look at what the hair of the characters looked like 4 years ago compared to today, hair and other bits and bobs in the game, you'll see a dramatic improvement. What are we seeing? But yeah,
Train
no.
of thought.
I got distracted by something on screen.
Shiny, shiny.
Yeah, so yeah, there's no specifics that we can get into right now. Let's say.
Yeah, it's worth noting here that doing graphical, improvements and hair physics, all that kind of stuff, it's trickier in a game like DBD than it is in a lot of other games, in that we care a lot about visibility of the characters, being
Yeah.
able to hide and stuff like that. So sometimes, you make a change to something visually, be it a new art asset or a new technology for the way things render or look in the game, and while it may look really cool on just the character standing there, it can confer some kind of unfair advantage or disadvantage to
Yeah.
the players in the game, right? Like, I don't want to fix hair and suddenly make it so that you can see everyone's hair really easily all the time in the game. That'll make it too hard to hide. Right.
We've had glitches
Yeah.
and issues with hair through
Ah,
fog and
that's
things
true.
like that. It's
That is
so
true.
delicate.
We used to be able to see
For us,
people's hair
let's put it that way. Gameplay
across
and
map.
the fact that the game is as fair or unfair as it is supposed to be is always going to be the trump card. It's always going to win in the end.
There is also some changes that are planned for the next big update that are slight changes, slight improvements to lighting and shadows. So we're hoping this is going to help as well on the visibility of your character.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Vladistan from
Close enough.
the Russian. Yeah. close
Vladistan.
enough. Yeah. Are you planning on adding a dedicated server located in Russia?
No.
So we had the answer from our TD here, our technical director, saying no, it is not currently planned.
Yep, that's the answer.
Okay, so that one was quick.
Yeah, it's quick. I know it's disappointing for our Russian friends. We are, like, for what it's worth,
so where does
we
Russia
are
connect to?
continually working on our matchmaking system and how it places you into games and onto servers to minimize the effect of geolocation, distance, latency, stuff like that. So hopefully it'll become less of a problem. But yeah, as of the moment, we're not planning on putting new servers in Russia.
China?
There you go.
Lucas Doa Moral, are there any changes planned for the Memento Mori offerings, such as only usable on desktop?
Yeah, I saw this asked quite a bit.
Yeah. Ready to
I mean, so when it comes to the Moris and the Mori system, from a design perspective, we've looked at it. We're not like, we don't think it's perfect by any means. Is anything ever perfect, right? It's the fun part of working
Some
on a live
things
game.
are perfecter than others. Let's say.
Yeah, your face is perfect, Matt. There's an example. So we've got a little bit of perfection kicking around on the team. Just we want to obviously make the Mori system more like Matt's face. Is that a thing I can say? All right, well, too late.
It's not a thing.
I want to more people with Matt's face.
Parameter of quality control.
Yeah, exactly. I measure we measure designs against like the scale is from very bad to Matt's face. That's how we do.
I like that there's no other people involved.
No.
Or
no,
other body parts. That could have been weird.
Like all of them pale in comparison to the perfection of your face.
Oh, pitch posh. All right.
But the point is, with the Mori system, we know it's something that could use some improvement. It's something that's on the list. There are definitely some ideas on the design team bouncing around. I'm not going to tell you what any of them are. Don't like telling you guys anything that might not come to fruition. It's on the list. It's a matter of priorities. I can't commit to when it's coming in, but it's actively being discussed. It's something that we're looking at and considering and trying to figure out what the best answer is.
Fair.
All right.
The next one. A Cure for a Living is asking, is there any update on Quentin's face update?
Oh, they're going to talk about this one? This is a license.
Well, the first part of that question is complicated. We've addressed it in the past. It's a conversation that needs to happen between a lot of different parties, and it's a very complex legal discussion. So for now, we have nothing to announce on that front. As far as new cosmetics for license killers, we've shown that we are able to do more cosmetics for existing license killers, and it's fun, and we know you like it, and therefore It is something that exists in the past. It's something that might very well exist in the future too.
Okay.
If it was, we wouldn't be talking about it now. So
Oh,
there.
what?
Oh dear.
Wait a
Okay,
minute.
all right. Multiple people. Again, I've asked, have you thought about a 2v8 game mode? And this is a
Never.
question that comes back.
We've never thought about it.
Did we
What?
never
That's
talk
crazy.
about it?
No,
I'm not
seriously.
even thinking about it right now.
It's something that's come back so many times. I mean, even from the early days of the prototype, we tried all the different combinations, not all of them, but like all the possible, like 1v6, 1v12, 2v6, 2v2, blah blah blah. We tried as many combinations as we could. We ended up with 1v4 because we think it's a good mix. It's a good mix, and also we thought it would make for possible the big issue with that is that you have to have a community that's able to play, and therefore you have to have it's not exactly a 4-to-1 ratio of survivors to killer, because some survivors end the game early and can move on to a different one, but the ratio needs to be close enough that people can get together and play a game. Now, right now, I think we can all agree that matchmaking and queue times are not perfect. They could be better for
They're
sure.
not a Matt's face on the.
They are not
overall
at that
scale.
level yet. However,
You wrote to Matt's face, where are they right now?
but the thing is, if we were to add right now a button that says you can either play the normal 1v4 mode or you can play the 2v8 mode, we'd split the community in two,
yeah.
and therefore all of these problems would be exaggerated. So,
So-
it's always a very difficult call to make, and so far we've decided not to make it.
Yeah, they
There's
can't hear me,
also
guys.
the part
Matthew,
of
what'd you have
the
for breakfast
answer,
today?
Which is when you're playing as killer, you play against like 4 times 4 perks, and now yes, you're gonna play with another killer, but you're gonna play against 8 times 4 perks, and things are stacking, and they're not made like at the
That's
beginning,
it.
made for being stacked that much.
And especially like that's a very good point. Like, how many perks would instantly break if 2 killers walked in with
Yeah.
2 different combinations of perks and powers? Like, the whole thing goes to shit really quickly. I think is the technical term.
Yeah, that's the technical term.
All right, so that's it. That would be.
It's
we
a
thought
completely
about it,
different
but it's
game. It would be probably a super cool game, but it's a completely different game.
Mhm.
All right, multiple people again ask, will there be any quality of life improvement for a solo player?
Yeah,
this one
kind
asks-
of. So I'm gonna read the answer that I wrote down earlier because I thought about it. But yeah, the performance of Survive with Friends groups, like when we look at them on average, the bulk numbers, it's not that much higher than solo
Yeah.
survivors. Not so much that we're panicking, we're not freaking
interesting.
out. I know it feels different when you're the one in the game, but from our perspective, looking at the analytics and the data that we have, it's not a huge concern. It is still a concern. I still do care about this quite a bit, especially as it pertains to our matchmaking system. With the upcoming matchmaking changes that we're working on right now and doing like limited tests of, moving towards a matchmaking rating based system means that we'll be able to quantify the advantage, if you will, or the performance increase that Survive with Friend groups see. We'll be able to quantify that and then adjust in the matchmaking more dynamically for that. So that's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that once we have matchmaking ratings in, we will be able to tell very clearly how much better groups are performing and how that impacts the quality of matches. And there's some various things that we can do to then piggyback on that and to make better matchmaking that's more balanced for Survive with Friend groups. So if you're a group of like 2 super pros and your buddy you just had by the game over the weekend, we'll be able to place you in matches that are more balanced for that very disparate skill gap be in that group. Like that's a tough game to matchmake for, no matter how you slice it. But there are ways that we can do that a lot better in the matchmaking with a matchmaking rating. So expect, like, it's not directly targeted at making groups versus solo queues better, but it will have that impact. It will have that effect of being able to make those games more balanced.
Sorry.
The chat's going nuts over Cooper right now. Yeah, well, guys, we're home, so our kitties are here.
That happens.
Yep.
There you go.
Not
So
look at Dark
supervisor
Queen's
coming
cat.
by
That
to chat.
cat
I'm
sits
doing my
still.
job.
Like
I locked
you
mine
wouldn't
out of my
believe.
room.
That's
So.
first.
See her cat on the chair behind? Keep an eye on that cat.
Creepy Amateur is asking, why did you guys remove the switch to killer to survivor button?
That was intentional and my fault.
Aw.
So if you want to get angry at anyone, you can get mad at me. That's cool. It was part of the rework that we did a while back to the Survive with Friend groups. So like if you all, like, you know, close your eyes and picture the way back in the dark times before the Survive with Friends group got reworked. Remember when you had to re-invite everyone after every game? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's really quick how fast we can forget about these things when
Right?
they are not happening anymore.
Yeah, the overall group structure and the way invites worked and the flow for that was just, it wasn't up to the level of quality that we wanted it to be at. And so we reworked that entire flow. We did a lot of technical work behind the scenes, and one of the things that ended up happening was we got rid of that switch roll button that was on the side. The main reason why it went away was because if you're playing in a Survive with Friends group, now it's much easier to join games, it's much easier to invite people, and so you're in, even when you're alone, the game is kind of acting like you're in a group of one with 3 empty slots. And so we removed that button to get rid of any kind of weird scenarios where it's like, well, what do we do if we have 3 survivors in a group and then one of them decides to switch roles to killer? Because, like, you can't queue like that. That's not fair for matchmaking. We don't want you grouping up with a killer and a survivor for all of the massive number of exploits there. And so kind of the cleanest way to handle this problem was to say, no, we'll just get rid of that button. Like, you back out to the main menu and you click the other button.
Long story
so decide,
short,
do you want to play survivor? Do you
killer
want to play killer?
glitch
Right? Remember, it used to
deactivated.
be, do you want to play survivor or do you want to play survive with friends? Simplified that flow, just made it so play survivor, play killer. And so one of the things that had to hit the cutting room floor from that was getting rid of that, or it was getting that, or having that button. That's what hit the cutting room floor. So we got rid of it to simplify all this other stuff. So, like, there was huge gains, but every once in a while you got to sacrifice a button. It takes an extra click to change which role you want to be in. I'm sorry.
It makes the whole thing a little more. It makes more sense.
Makes everything else there a lot more intuitive, a lot more standard compared to other games on the market. So yeah, I'm pretty happy personally with how the Survive with Friends rework there turned out. You don't have to invite everyone again after every game, so call that a win.
There you go.
All right. Amma Eagle is asking another question about Mori. So any chance we'll see new Mori animations for Old Killer? So it's also a question from Zaitsev. To ask, we also have an extra question on top of it to ask if the Legion's Mori could include all 4 killers.
That's actually a really cool idea. I'd love to see the
would be
merge,
hot.
like split into 4 and then merge back into 1. That'd be super cool. And then the animators are looking at me like I'm insane. But
Shucks, Matt, we don't have anything planned for this.
We have nothing planned for this, and you know, I think this question was asked since the Hag, when we started really taking a different take on the Mori animations. Before that, they were pretty straightforward. They were very simple, and then we started getting a little more crazy with it, and now it's become a much bigger thing. So yes, there's been discussions. But it's not something that we prioritize right now.
Right. AG was here. I like this question. Could we get the ability to rejoin if we lose connection?
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's the classic multiplayer game question, right? To put it really gently, no, or at least not not for the foreseeable future. It sounds like something that's really simple. Like as a gamer, I'm used to being like, yeah, reconnect. Come on, how hard can it be? From a technical level, it's actually really hard. It's really, really tough. Having somebody join a session midway, especially like most of the games that allow you to do that were built with that feature in from the very get-go because there's a lot of value to it. A game like DBD, it's tough because if you crash out, if you have a network error, average amount of time, like think about how many times your computer dies or your cat pees on your router or whatever, you have some kind of problem like this, how long it
would never do that.
never, but my cat is a jerk, so
You guys have cats peeing on your routers?
Especially routers.
What's going
more
on?
expensive than network hardware.
I instantly became
pees on it.
happy that I'm allergic
but
to cats.
You get my point. My point is, like, you have a catastrophic network problem, you have a game crash, you have a PC crash, blue screen of death, what have you. How long does that take for you realistically to get back in the game and be ready to rejoin a match?
A couple of minutes?
Yeah, like anywhere from like, if you got a real fast computer and you fix the problem quick, like 2-3 minutes, but average it's probably going to be more like 5 minutes. Then you've got to get the reconnection going and get in the game. That's going to take another minute or so there. Now most of the game is done. You're probably, if you're a survivor, you're probably reconnecting to yourself having already died, right?
Most
and that's
likely.
Yeah, most likely. And if you're a killer, well, I mean, I guess you were standing still in the game for 5 minutes. I'm assuming the survivors would have fixed some generators and dipped by then. So at the end of the day, it ends up being that realistically, most of the time when you're going to do a reconnect, the game is going to be over or have descended to such a negative state for you that you're kind of going to wish you weren't in it by that point.
And on
Anyways,
top of this, there's the penalty as well. So,
yeah.
By the way, there's a weird sound happening. It's not me, is it? All right. So there was a question in the chat. I know we're not taking questions from the chat, but someone was asking about the DC penalty and saying, "Oh, are we going to remove it?" And I just want to mention something. Since the DC penalty was put, we've seen a reduction of about 35% of disconnects.
Oh, it's higher than that. I think it was actually a reduction of like 50%.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
It was 35 at the
it.
beginning, I think, but now if we calculate on
I believe
a
it.
longer
Remember,
time, it's
DC
been longer
penalties
than
are going to kill the game, you guys.
feature is
Averaging
in the game.
more players
Yes,
at this
more
moment
close
than
to
ever in the
50%
history of the game. But
reduction.
remember, DC penalties,
And
the streamers
we
told
did
you,
look at,
DC penalties are going to kill the
data
game.
as well for the number of hook suicides, because people are saying, oh, people are just switching one for the other. We haven't seen that much of an increase on that, no.
Yeah, I don't even think we saw any statistically significant increase on that. So that's a thing that it feels like is happening. It's not really happening that often.
All right. So, are there any? Oh, we're going for another question about bans. Big
Hey.
Mr. E, are there any plans to punish face camper?
I mean, no. Not really. It's really the whole point of camping is that it's up to whose mic is being so loud. I'm gonna find who it is. I'm gonna shame them. No, that's not true. I'm gonna be very nice. Is it me? I hope it's not me. If I can hear it myself, that's a
No, I
bad
think
sign.
it's Dawn. Dawn, can you just mute for a
Shh.
moment?
The secret
No
guest.
worries.
Shh.
She's hiding.
She's hiding.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're the whole point of camping, or like part of how camping is intentionally balanced, is that it keeps a killer distracted if you're camping and lets the survivors go and fix gens and get out. We admit that it kind of sucks for the guy on the hook. We're not super happy about that. And there's some things that we've talked about and scenarios to rebalance it. We don't want camping to be super appealing to killers, at least from
It's
I would like to kill them.
bad strategy. We all know that.
Yeah, we want it to be a bad strategy, right? We want it to be something that is punished by the survivors if you're camping. So are we gonna punish campers like in terms of bans or any kind of like making it a reportable offense? No, we're not gonna do that. We may rebalance elements of it in the future to be even less appealing to face camping killers, but that's the intention. The intention is you can do it if you want, but it's just a bad idea.
Yeah, this includes a lot of other like strategies that are deemed like cheap strategies or whatever you want to call it. Honestly, as long as you're not breaking our TOS or our game rules and you're not hacking,
100%.
But that's the other thing also is that a lot of these things we keep having the question, oh, are you going to remove the possibility of doing that? Are you going to put mechanics in place that make sure that nobody can like get close to the hook or whatever? But the more of those limitations we put around this, the more we limit the edge cases of amazing emergent things that can pop up. Like people need to be free to be able to do a bunch of different things if we want crazy one in a lifetime things to happen once in a while.
Yeah, like player choice is really important, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes a player will choose to do something that's not great for themselves in the match for whatever reason, right?
Same goes for tunneling. You get tunneled,
It
it's
can be
just
fun
too bad.
sometimes.
Yep, it can be fun. It can be not fun, but we want to make sure that at least it shouldn't be rampant. If literally every game involved a killer face camping all 4 survivors one after the other, and it was letting them win the game every time, I would personally be a lot more worried about it, and we'd be having a very different conversation right now. But that's not the case. That's just simply not the case right now.
All right. Yellow Trio is asking, will we ever be able to personalize our character's clothing? For example, picking the color of your shirt.
That's a direction in the customization options that we've decided not to go into.
Okay.
We don't plan of changing that, but we plan on giving you so many more options as we go on that you'll be able to find something that that represents you to a certain extent.
All right. Black Panda is asking, can
That's
we
fair.
get the option to add prestige blood to any outfit?
Yeah, that's another one that keeps coming back since Prestige, I guess. And no, we're not going to do that. First of all, it's supposed to represent the original outfit, which is usually the ultimate personality of that character, but also creating that option would be very time consuming, as in it's not a simple thing to do, and we have to pick our battles, and that's not one we want to have right now.
And as we said earlier, we're actually already looking into prestige rewards, right, Patrick?
Yep.
Yep.
Like that.
It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm not, sending you guys to the wrong direction. All right. AC player, any plans to make the killer ping visible in the lobby?
Yeah. So we're not planning on doing that right now. I see why people are asking for that.
Because everybody's afraid of
generally
going against
speaking,
the
since the
VPN
introduction
killer.
of dedicated servers, players' connections to games, both killers and survivors, have gotten a lot better. Like ping has gone down. Well, I guess killer's ping hasn't gone down because they were the server before. But the killer ping isn't a huge issue in terms of their pings are abnormally high. The real problem that we're having, and I'm assuming where this question is coming from, you're not going to sneak one by on me like that, is that killers right now who have a very high ping do have a handful of what I would consider to be unfair advantages compared to killers who are playing with a lower ping. And the plan of attack there is to fix that, is to make it so they don't have those advantages. So an example is that I was talking about earlier was the server-side hit validation. One of the things the server-side hit validation does is it removes any kind of advantage the killer with a high ping had. It, like I said, it sanity checks and goes, is this hit fair? Is this hit valid? Did this hit happen in a reasonable window? So one of the things the server-side hit validation is going to do is if it receives information on a hit that's just too far in the past, and I'm talking like a really huge margin in the past, it's just gonna reject that outright. It's gonna go, that's way too old for this to be fair, and that's gonna get rid of that sensation of survivors of getting hit from 5 miles away, right? Like I don't want a survivor suddenly gushing blood from a hit that happened 5 seconds ago on the killer's screen.
So that goes back to the previous hitbox question a little bit. And the too long didn't read answer is no, we're not planning on showing the ping.
Exactly.
Still there.
Okay. Alo is asking, will licensed character have stories in the archives?
Oh boy.
You're taking that one, Matt?
Wow. I thought this was a no.
They're characters.
Wow.
Okay.
That's it. That's my answer.
Wow, I thought this was a slam dunk
I
no.
concur.
Interesting.
Okay, well, I can answer that one. For now, we're focusing mostly on our original character for the lore, and we don't really need the licensed character for the challenges. So any character that we're putting in the archive is required for a challenge will be available for shards. So that gives you an idea of where we're going with that.
So no.
Okay.
HD is here. Could we get point for recovering while down?
Huh?
Could we? I mean, it sure is a possibility. It's a thing that we could do.
I mean, it would encourage
it's
people
something
to
we've been
recover.
considering, talking about doing. I've heard it a few times before in the past. Obviously, I'm not gonna promise anything. I'm not gonna give you an ETA, but it's a good idea.
I mean,
Well,
everybody
thanks for the
hates going up to the
suggestion.
random survivor who hasn't even been
Albino
recovering.
squirrel.
At least if they're
I gotta
getting
say, I
points, they
love
have an
your
incentive
name, and
to
there's
do it.
actually an albino squirrel living in the tree right there. It's
Well.
scary. Have you considered making the hook struggle automatic?
We have not. No, that's not true. We've considered it and repeatedly decided not to.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, we're doing it like that because we want you to feel involved with that part of the game, right? We want you to feel like pushing back against the entity, against that sacrifice is something active, something that you as a player have agency over. We've talked about changing around how it works, but we haven't talked about automating it or getting rid of that because we think it's really important that you have that sensation of struggling, right?
Okay.
You can't struggle if you're alt tabbing.
So they're not saying that they won't change
you know,
the
setting up
key.
your Spotify playlist. We want to keep you engaged. So yeah, not going to automate it.
All right. Pumpkin King is asking, have you considered a stats page showing your survivor and killer stats?
Oh, we sure
Yeah.
have considered that.
Yeah.
You bet. I want to see how many 4Ks I get. I mean, heck yeah.
The one of the many problems with that, challenges with that, would be how do we go back in time also? Because
Yeah.
if I have 3,000 hours in the game and we just implemented that stat page and I've got 0 in everything,
Yeah.
how do I
it's a-
feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that our biggest bottleneck in terms of integrating features like that is it's all the UI and UX work that we need to do on the game. So
Yeah.
what is UI and UX, Pat? Do you want to explain that?
Man,
User
For
interface
some
and
people that might
what's
not.
UX?
yeah, I'm remembering a meme that a guy made about comparing what UI is and what UX is.
What's UX?
And he would just take random stock photos and say this
User
is UI
experience?
and this is UX, and he kept pumping these memes out, and eventually got somebody to use one in a TED talk. It was like a picture of a pineapple, and on the other side it was like like an airplane or something ridiculous. Like he just kept putting ridiculous stuff. No, UI and UX are very similar. UI, it stands for user interface. That's like the literal menu as you see it. It's sort of like, it's, again, somebody's going to get mad at me for not using the right terminology, but generally speaking, UI is like the menus you see in the game, how you interact with them, what you see, how it displays information. UX stands for user experience, and user experience is more about like, how do you feel using the UI, right? How does it make you feel? How intuitive is it?
What's
It's
the
more
flow from
yeah,
one
what's the
thing to the
flow?
other thing?
What's the mouth feel of this particular screen, if I will?
All right.
So
I sense
So-
a bit of a judgment there.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, okay.
So, multiple people have asked, since you changed the perks like Stakeout, will you continue with perks like Monstrous Shrine and Small Game? So, I'm guessing that's a design question.
yeah, it's a design question, and the answer is yes. And that's the answer. The answer is yes. Do I have plans?
Technically, every single perk in the game is under scrutiny and at the risk of being changed at any moment if it feels like it's not good enough.
Or
But
too
there's a
good.
list
Or too
and they're in order.
Yeah,
Except
and that order shifts around based off of new information, new
Feeling.
issues. Oh yeah, feeling, right? All that kind of stuff. So, yep.
All right. Oh, did I miss one? Sorry about that. Super Poblog. do you have any plans to buff We're Gonna Live Forever so it does something
okay. I
during
was
the match,
wondering.
like barbecue?
Same answer. Yeah, but again, we have plans to look at everything. That's one thing that we're looking at, but don't have any details or announcements to make on that front. It is just something that we're looking at.
So why was that its own
All
question?
right,
It doesn't really have a
Race is
different answer.
asking, do you think there will ever be a new Survivor objective?
It's possible.
Yep, it's possible.
We've done it for some events, modifications on existing objectives, and it's not impossible. I don't think we will ever drastically change what the game is at its core, but yeah, there could be fun, different things to do in the game as a survivor.
Yep. The challenge there is just making sure the things we decide to do on that front are consistent with DBD. Like they add something new to the game, but they don't change the core of the game. And DBD is an interesting balancing challenge. So that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
All right. Reiko is asking, will we see any more Legion or Clown buff?
There's a very dangerous thing we do in this where we have a document where we list all the questions and answers, and then there's stuff like, do we want to talk about this right now? Which you should never
Are
put
we
that.
comfortable?
I feel
know,
like people
Matt,
should know. I'm
I
like
took
Ron
all the
Burgundy. I will
questions
read
off but that
whatever
one.
is written down.
I took all the questions off but that one, so don't read that. But it's okay. It depends on our game designer
So
here.
you can say it then.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, will we see any more Legion or Clown buffs? Specifically, I can say right now that we're looking at the Clown right now. There's work being done. There's ideas on buffing and making some changes to the Clown. But that's it. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm not even sure what they are right now because we've been fielding different ideas and trying some things out on our end. But yeah, you can expect to see something for the Clown before the heat death of the universe.
Okay.
All right. Filthy Quentin is asking, is there any chance that you are planning to make Survivor have a unique passives?
Yeah, that's also an ongoing thing
I don't
that
think so.
Keeps coming back every couple of months. Yes and no. There's been a change to that when we added the fact that the survivors have the perks by default, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's not planned right now, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, higher priority tasks on our plate at the moment.
We don't think it would be the thing that makes the game better right now.
Right. Pop Goes is asking, any plan to change slightly, moderately, tremendously
actual numbers
to exact numbers? This is something that's been asked a lot, by the way. So take it away, Pat.
I mean, I'd say we've got a moderate plan to change that. But for real,
we're slightly looking into it.
We're slightly looking into it. We're going to change the text moderately. But yeah,
it's a lot of text.
It's a lot of text.
Tremendous amount of text.
And that's it. There's a tremendous amount of text, but it is something that we're looking at very seriously. I know I keep saying, oh, we're looking at stuff, but like this is one that's higher up on the list that we're paying attention to. It's hard though. There's a lot of text in the game that relies on this kind of verbiage, and we want to make sure that the kind of text that we replace it with is equally as clear without being confusing. Like, I don't want to just put a bunch of decimal places in every single one and go, this gives you a 0.03154 repeating second advantage, right? Like that kind of information, it just obscures the purpose of the perk or the ability or what have you. So yeah, we're working on it and trying to figure out how to word these things and how to communicate the information in a way that is clear, accurate, and not confusing.
And useful.
Yeah, and useful.
Yeah. All right. So the quick answer is moderately yes. That's the answer? Okay. Verzo Man, will we ever be able to buy different Mori animation in the store?
Well, we don't like to say never, but it's not planned.
Okay. Quick answer to that. Agling is asking, will there ever be environmental risk in the map?
making maps more interactive is something that you've seen. I mean, I think it started with the junkyard where we put the ding and the door that opens. That was the first thing
was
that
cool.
we put that was specific. Then there's the foghorn in the swamp, and there's a few things like that. And I think that as we go, maps become a little more interactive. Who knows what's gonna happen next?
Okay. No concrete plan at the moment. Don't start the rumor mills.
Oh.
Yeah. Life by Nightlight is asking, will there be reworks, new balancing for rarely used killers?
I mean, that's kind of like the question we just
Clown
answered
question,
about
yeah.
the clown, right? Like, one of the reasons why the clown became a character that we were paying attention to is because that the clown is not used as often as other killers. We want to make him more interesting, right? Make it more viable. And that's one of the ways that we make decisions on which killer to focus on next is we look at how often that killer is being played. We look at the success rates of that killer, and not just success rates overall, but success rates in the hands of newer players versus veteran players, all that kind of stuff. So will we be looking at rarely used killers? Yeah, we're looking at rarely used killers all the time.
There you go.
All right. Emotional Daisy is asking, will Suzy and Joey get their own voices? So,
What?
The answer
Oh,
is
okay.
no.
You skipped the question there.
did I again?
Yep, that's okay. It's okay.
I don't see it. No, I didn't.
All right.
Anyways.
Then, will Suzy and Joey get their own voices? Not planned.
All right. Simple answer.
Easy peasy.
Yogurt Manon, have you considered adding characters from iconic horror games instead of focusing on movies?
You mean like Left 4 Dead? No, never considered that.
Okay.
That was a joke.
We're all laughing right now.
Yeah, because we have
Just
Bill
kidding.
from Left 4 Dead. So
Another one.
yeah.
Okay. That was the end of the answer.
Okay.
No, she's asking you.
Question
Trevor,
answered.
She's not telling you
Yeah.
that's the end of the
will
answer.
each killer be getting their own unique chase music?
I mean, the plan for this is to make unique music for killers that are new. So as we're creating new killers, we're looking at ways that we can add in unique music for them. And also, if we're doing like major reworks to previously released killers or anything like that, we will consider that as part of the pass of them. But you're not going to see a patch that's like, bonk, everybody has unique chase music now. Like, that's not going to be how we do it. We're going to do it piecemeal, one at a time, as we're already going in and touching the characters.
Clown new chase music.
So this is kind of a similar question, so I will just skip it. It's basically asking which killer is getting their own chase music, but I think we answered that one. Suicide Fox is asking, are there any plans for a Huntress add-on pack?
Specifically,
there are definitely
iridescent
plans.
heads.
No ETA yet. I am a broken record in this call.
Yeah.
But there are
a lot
plans.
of things that
I'm
is
gonna
on
take
our
that as a
radar, but
yes,
our
that
radar goes
iridescent
very
head
far in the future.
Huntress
Yeah, it's
will be
kind of
changed.
decision paralysis sometimes. There's so many things we want to work on, but there's only so many hours in the day.
But there's also the
some-
thing where, you know, sometimes we obviously we have a plan to tell people about what we're doing or when we release stuff, and we're not going to change our plan because someone asked a question on the chat, are we?
That's fair.
Usually we have a plan to tell you about these things,
That's fair.
but that's okay.
True.
We're happy to take those questions anyway, but you're just less excited about the answers.
Yeah, it sucks when you hear that you're being heard, but that no action is happening at this exact
in
moment.
the future.
Which is not the case. It's just that there's a bigger plan there. Anyway.
We're hearing you, and we'll do something about it when we get to it.
Also, sometimes there are plans for things. There are plans that are put on the roadmap, and things happen where we have to readjust other things before, and we change our priorities, and that fall into the backlog. Doesn't mean we don't have a plan for it. It's just the plan is on the back burner for now.
Yeah.
All right. Multiple people are asking, can we get the ability to preview different outfit pieces at the same time in the store?
Yeah, that's a highly requested thing.
Or
Being able to
features.
have essentially a changing room where you can go and try on different pieces of outfits and see how awesome they look together or bad.
The
because
Able
some might
sisters let
mix
me do it.
weirdly. It'd be great. It's not part of our priority right now.
Ooh, I found a question in the chat that I can answer right away. Will there be more community influence cosmetic? There's actually been a contest going on in the last month for the community to design an outfit. So we're going to announce the 2 winners during the anniversary stream. 2 weeks. Yay.
Yay!
BM33 is asking, any chance of having 2 sets of daily rituals, 3 for killers and 3 for survivors?
I mean, again, yes, we've been thinking about overhauling the ritual system. We're not super happy with the current distribution of rituals. It's very, like, for example, right now it's very killer centric, which isn't great. Like, I want the survivors to have something to do too. Not sure when it's going to get done, where it's on the roadmap of future completion, but it's definitely something that we're aware of and looking at and considering how to address.
Good.
Vector is asking, any update on the rank update error?
The rank update error, that's a nasty
Yeah.
one.
I don't know
Yeah,
what that one
it's a
is.
real tough one to solve. It's still being investigated. If you are suffering from the rank update error, we have a section on the DBD forums. Please, please, please go in there and share details. Interact with our wonderful community management team to provide us with those details. This bug is really tough for us to track down and to
Yeah.
figure out exactly why it's happening. It's seems to be related to like hardware and network specific conditions, so it's not something we can recreate very easily. So every bit of detail you can give us
Yeah.
helps.
The more info, this is
Yeah.
something that we'll fix together.
Yeah, and we, to be clear, there's been several times now where we think, okay, I think we fixed it, and then we push the patch out, and it
Yeah.
gets a little bit better, and then something else happens, or people are still suffering from it. So it's a gnarly one, and we are taking it very seriously and really busting our butts to try to get it done.
All right, PS1. Any update on optimization?
Oh, that's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, it's
updates on
entire
Can we
PS1.
get Dead by
We're
Daylight on
talking
PlayStation
about
1, please?
optimization on all platforms, including consoles. So this is an answer to console optimization as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, who's
Yeah.
answering?
You take this one.
Yeah. I mean, optimization is really an ongoing process. I mean, especially as we continue to add new things to the game, we're trying to optimize the new additions that go in, and finding other ways to get large improvements across the board. This game's on a few different platforms. I don't know if you guys noticed, right? So we are focusing on all of those platforms. We're trying to find ones that benefit everyone. But if a specific console or platform needs the love and attention to give it that kind of performance boost, that's not off the table. But yeah, the optimization is something that's just ongoing. So like sometimes it's small steps and you're not really going to notice. Sometimes we get big gains, but yeah.
we're also we also have an ongoing section on the forums where any of you can report specific optimization issues. Saying FPS bad is not really helping us in any way.
Yeah.
However, if you tell us, hey, I'm getting FPS drop when this happened specifically, or on this map when I played this killer, that is going to help us a lot to identify where we can gain in terms of optimization. So again, like Matt said earlier, and it was beautiful, this is something we're tackling all together. So obviously, if you can give us all the info through this, that would be awesome.
You know that now it's going to be a thing and people are just going to report FPS bad.
FPS bad.
We already have that, so I mean, it's not...
You're not helping.
Wait, another thing is, on that section, you can also vote on the issues. So if you see someone that actually reported an issue that you are coming in to report, you can just upvote it, and then your job is done. So it's magical.
Yep. I just want to pipe in and say that I saw a question in chat that I need to answer. Somebody asked, bone-in or boneless wings? Clearly bone-in wings. Boneless wings are just nuggets. Okay?
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Why would you say something so controversial and true?
Hot take
can't
from the
argue with
DVD
that.
dev stream. Boneless wings are just nuggets.
You are now deemed a man of culture.
Look, there's nothing wrong with nuggets.
No,
Don't get me wrong.
I had
But-
nuggets for lunch.
But if
They
you, if
were
you-
animal shaped.
yeah, if you hand me a nugget and
Oh,
tell me
God.
it's a wing, This
Oh, this is great. All right, Skylar Pup is asking, would it be possible to gift RXLs to friends? Also, would it be possible to gift cosmetic clothing purchases?
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
it's a really cool feature. It's something that we love. Giving is always nice. Right now, it's not planned. It's not part of our roadmap. But there's a solution. You can always send gift cards to your friends, I guess.
For now.
Yep.
But it's beautiful that you just want to ask for a feature to gift people.
sharing is caring.
Yep.
Harbinger
Boneless is for
512.
children.
Any new gestures planned for Survivor?
Dino-shaped nuggets.
This is something also that I think we answered previously in other Q&As, but we can continue and answer it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Guns.
very, very delicate
guns
for
win.
gestures to not be purely for taunting or bullying purposes. It's a great way to express yourself, but the point was always to try to keep it to minimal conversation bits, and that's why you have the point and the here, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
All
And
right.
I
so-
guess
Not a
the
popular answer,
squat.
but I will
So
accept it.
we have 2 more questions here, and then we're gonna go to our special guest. Because
Special
we're getting
guest.
up to
Oh, but it
An
can't
hour.
be Tony Todd.
yeah,
because
we're
they said it
gonna
isn't going to be
go over a little
about
bit,
any
but
new
it's fine.
content.
Suzuki is
Wah,
asking,
wah.
any plans on returning Legacy to those who lost it back in the days?
Ooh.
So again, this is another question
I'm so
that
glad
we
I
previously
pre-read
answered,
through
but,
all the
if you
submitted
want to
questions, so
answer
no
that,
surprises here for me.
I certainly don't, but I will. So this is something that keeps coming back. We want to make sure that Legacy. Man, it was tough getting prestige back in those days. We want to make sure that we maintain what it means to have those legacy outfits, and therefore we're not going to do that unless we have a
But no,
very,
no,
very
they're not saying they
solid
want
way
it to come back for
have
people to earn
a
it.
wayback
They're
machine
saying
that allows
the
us to check
pin-
the exact state of things at that time.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but it is extremely complex.
And,
But it's a great segue into our
I was
the next part of the show.
yeah. I was gonna just note that so we track things very differently at the time, and
Yeah. There
The
wasn't
whole
like
will
system of
only-
analytics has been redone.
yes,
since, yeah.
exactly.
we have
So
the
it's
whole
really hard
back
for
end
us
system
to do
now.
it in a way where
It didn't
we're
exist when
confident
people
we're
had
returning
Legacy.
it to the right people, and this is
Mm.
why we're not doing it at the moment.
And there's too many ways to cheat this system.
Yep.
So we want to make sure.
All right. Roku is asking, do you have a plan to add the Nightmare
I
and
have a
Quentin
Roku.
to the Nintendo Switch?
We would love to. It is an ongoing conversation with our pleasant partners, and until that is settled, there's nothing we can do. So
Okay. All right. So this was the end of the 5 pages of questions. But we do have a special guest for you today. So I don't know how she's going to be introduced to the stream. Oh, hi. You're here.
Wow.
I don't know
It
if
was
you're
the
still
person we
muted.
saw
No,
before.
you're good.
Good. I didn't expect to be on the big square.
Well, you're
You're
in
just
the
that
big square
important.
then. So welcome in. So Danella, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Behavior?
User
Hey, I'm
research
Johnny. I am a
specialist.
user researcher, which essentially means that if you have seen a survey in the last about
Okay.
7 months, I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say that I am responsible for it. I'm part of. I think I'm just going to take your first question here as part of my
Yeah.
context. But I'm
Go
part
ahead.
of a team called. I'm part of a team called Rover. We're comprised of several different people, but really we are user researchers like myself, as well as data scientists, engineers, and analysts. And essentially what we do is we use various data sources like surveys and analytics and focus groups to give insights to the production team and help people make data-driven decisions.
All right. So why do we do these player satisfaction surveys?
There's a
So-
lot of information.
I know. Go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, player satisfaction surveys are the rather lengthy surveys that you see probably once every 3 months. And the reason we do them is because there is a lot of types of data you can get out of game analytics. But for some things, you just have to ask. So things like, why do you play certain characters? Or what feels fair and things like that. You have to ask, especially in a game like DVD where balance is such a big focus. We can see something that's perfectly balanced with analytics, but it's also important to know that players feel that way as well.
Huh.
I'm
Perfectly
sorry,
balanced in the
Okay.
best world.
We have a question for the
Okay.
chat from the chat. So Brown Monster wants to know: so does everyone goes to the opera or not? You were not
Not
there at the
my
time.
Do you
right?
remember that question?
But
you go
we
to the
still get
opera.
comments on it.
You still get comments on that one? God damn.
I figured it out
All right.
why she's
Yeah.
here.
Which is a good question for the next one. Who decides on what questions goes in the surveys?
It's a perfect team effort. Before making a survey, I meet with all the different departments to figure out what burning questions they have for the community. And a lot of times they are very, very specific things, in which case that's the question that gets in the survey. But sometimes it's more like a general feeling and a more vibe. We want to know what players do with their free time, for instance. Is it the opera? And in those cases, it's whoever's making the survey, recently me, who gets to write the actual questions.
What sort of information do we normally look for?
We're looking for all types of things. For the most part, we want things that we can't find using in-game analytics. But sometimes we have to ask those kind of questions anyway. So, for instance, when we're asking you questions like, do you prefer to play killer or survivor? We are not looking to figure out the distribution of killers and survivors in the game. We very much know that. But there are certain things that we can figure out and break down by other questions. So a great example is a couple surveys ago, we asked which map the players believe could benefit from a rework. As one expects, killers and survivors had slightly different opinions on the matter. And that is something we can discern with those types of questions. So as much as we want things that we can only get from surveys, sometimes we have to ask what seems like very obvious questions. And the reason that those questions are in there for various reasons, but they're all very purposefully designed to be in the survey.
All right. And so once the survey's done and you receive all the information, what do we do with this information? Because the way I answered the survey, we're not making this change right now, right away. So why? So what do we do with the info?
If we shorten the distance between player feedback and implementation, we could. So many different teams are doing their best to do that. But essentially, we make a very, very long report, send it out to all different departments, and then they start to ideally they've answered their questions, and we can start the process of fixing certain things in the game or developing new things, or generally just moving the game forward. But a lot of times when we do these surveys, not only do we get back answers to the questions we intended, but we also get back so much more information than we expected. These are long surveys, and I know players think they're long because people tell me they're long. But people are still willing to do them, and we get so much information. So we're doing our best to take that information and do things as fast as possible, but it takes a while.
All right. And finally, the last question I had, do someone actually go through and read all the responses?
In a way, yes. And that someone is typically me, but I do have tools to help me out with that. So our surveys get tens of thousands of responses, and
Really?
of those people, we get tens of thousands of open comments. And I read them. I read as many as I can. I read enough to know that I've been rickrolled several times. People have sent me photos of their dogs disguised as, insights about perks and stuff like that, which I appreciate. I enjoy that. I get a lot of people sending me their emails.
Roll like 10 times fold now because you said that.
Gonna have pictures of
I-
dogs
Oh.
rickrolling you.
I won't be
That's
upset if there are
probably
more
true.
pictures of dogs on the next player satisfaction survey. I won't be upset because I read the comments. I really do. But there are thousands and thousands of comments, so no one can read them all. But we have special software that was designed by one of the people on the rover team, which is great, and it can take these thousands of comments and divide them into much more digestible topics. So we can look at these topics and say 20% of players are talking about X, Y, or Z, and that gives us that much better insight about what players are actually thinking about, and then we can go in and really discern what we can do to help them out.
So there's some people in chat asking,
Yes? Oh, did he freeze? Whoa! Whoa! What's going on?
Did I?
Uh-oh. Internet.
We lost you.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said there's some people asking, and then nothing.
And I was like, what are they
Wow.
asking, Matt?
So
What are they
mysterious.
asking? We want to
Yeah.
know.
All
No,
right,
they
that's
were-
the
they
end of
were
the live stream, folks.
I was just about to spill some beans. No, I was gonna say some people are asking if cats would also be acceptable.
I will take any and all cat photos, as well as honest feedback about the game. I'll take it all. I'm going to read it.
Especially feedback about the game, I guess. We're still trying to maintain the spirit of those surveys, right?
Zoom must be connected
The ultimate
to
goal
their
is
own
definitely
servers.
to improve
Oh
our
my
game in a
God,
variety
that
of
was
different
harsh, but
contexts.
Thank
hilarious.
you for clearing
And
that.
cat. Sometimes cat photos, improve my day, so I wouldn't be upset.
Wonderful.
Rickroll her. Really don't. All right, guys. I think we went over a tons of questions today. We're already over our time limit. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm gonna go over our news and announcement, and then we're gonna say goodbye. So
There's secret
first off,
messages
thank you
in
to
the
to
blues.
the mods.
We have
I don't know if it was
we
done
have to
earlier,
stop
but
and
thank
go
you
back
to
to
the
the blue
mods
bits.
for hanging out.
I
and,
assure you, there's
doing
secret
a job
clues in the
chat.
blue
I could see
flashes.
It was spicy at some time.
Yep.
Thank you to Matt Cote, Patrick Aris, and Danella to join us today. Thank you so much. And finally, we are doing the 4th anniversary stream on May 26th on Twitch and YouTube. So join us at that time. Matt says it's gonna be epic. Say goodbye to Cooper as well.
Bye, Cooper.
And we'll see you in a week and a half. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Okay, so I made a couple pages of notes here. Gonna go over what they had. No new teaser or content announcements today. All right, so let's just go in reverse. You want to know why that survey lady's there? I'll tell you why. So whenever I put out one of my videos that I go through the questions and the surveys, and I share it all with you, and I encourage all of you to answer it, this last time that I did that, I was inundated with comments from all of you, people who were very jaded about taking the survey. And most, I don't want to say most of you, but the most typical negative comment that I got was, I filled this out, but I know it's not going to do anything. And I was honestly quite surprised at the amount of people who came back with that response. And it was startling to me that there's so many of you out there who feel like you fill out these surveys and they don't matter. So I'll tell you what I did. I have, as a Fog Whisperer here, I have what's called an influencer manager. And I shared that with her. And I said, I'm getting a lot of comments from people who think that these surveys don't matter. And when they fill them out, that they think you don't do anything with it. So it's my belief that they brought Danella on to explain the process, humanize element of the surveys, and let you know that yes, they are doing stuff with that data to reassure you that it is important and that they want you to keep doing it and it matters. That's my belief. That's totally why I think she's there. 100%. 100%. That's why I think she's there, because of the response that you folks have about filling out the surveys and does it really matter? Does it do anything? That's why she's there. 100% in my mind. Make sense? Okay, so cosmetic contest is closed. They're going to announce the winners in 2 weeks at the Lit May 26th 4th anniversary celebration from home that they're going to do. It's going to be this style again. And can't wait to see who wins cosmetic contest. I guess I need to plow through the rest of those submissions and make my video about that before that happens. One thing that was very interesting to me was that they said that they're looking at the clown, because previously when they were asked that question about how they thought the clown was doing, they said that they were very pleased at where he was in performance and didn't need adjustments. So it looks like they have changed that. As far as the questions about the changing of some perks, the We're Gonna Live Forever, the way I saw the We're Gonna Live Forever question worded was they said, well, killers have this barbecue and chili, where not only do they get a ton of points for their stacks, but they get an extra ability out of it. And so they were pleading with the dev team to say, can you make We're Gonna Live Forever do something besides just giving extra points? Like, for example, if you did an unhook and you'd get to see where the killer was for a few seconds, an aura reading, just an extra ability added on to that We're Gonna Live Forever. So it isn't just a We're Gonna Farm Forever that gives you points. It is purely a point maker. They wanted to even it out and make it more like a barbecue and chili, which I think is a fair question. So this hit validation thing that they're talking about, it sounds very interesting, but it sounds like a lot of calculations have to happen in a small amount of time. And remember, this is a game where, for lack of a better word, the dedicated server can't even decide what's a grab and what's not. So how are we going to decide what's a hit and what's not? It sounds like, you know, blue skies and rainbow pies, if they can make it happen. It sounds like the miracle fix. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little skeptic. Yeah, right? See, that is a babysitter, right? So it's kind of like a babysitter. I get you. I am a little skeptical about them being able to have this hit validation system work properly when, I mean, I think we've all been there where we have our hand on somebody's shoulder and then you get nothing out of it. You don't get a grab and you don't get a hit on the person and they just run away. So, hey, if they can make that work with hit validation, it sounds wonderful. But you're going to have to show me. You're going to have to show me on that point. What else have I got here for notes? Devotion rewards, prestige rewards. That sounds very encouraging. They have something in development to reward you for your devotion and or prestige of characters. So that is something to look forward to. Somebody asked me here in the chat, do I recommend prestiging? At this point in time, I don't, because I think it's a lot of points required to get your character from level 50 to prestige 3 level 50. And I don't know that the benefit is worth it at this point for a couple of blood draped cosmetics and a 15% chance of better items on your blood web. I think the points are better spent elsewhere if you have them. Now, depending on what these rewards are, my opinion on that might change. And you notice how they also said about, can you prestige any cosmetic? Well, to get the blood to drape properly on every cosmetic that have different shapes and stuff, yeah, that'd be a lot of work. Could you imagine trying to drape the blood on Meg's big backpack, for example? Would be a lot of work to prestige every outfit. So I understand why they don't want to do it with the blood draping on the clothing items. And that's the other reason why I say, you know, I don't really think prestige is worth it, because there are so many cosmetic options for most of the characters that you probably don't want to wear the prestige cosmetic anyway. You probably want to wear something else from the store more times than not. It was interesting to see them say here that the survive with friends statistics don't bear out a significant advantage. I guess it's only slight. So I guess all the times that I see toxic survive with friends in post-game chat, I can just say, well, actually, statistically, survive with friends doesn't give you that much of a tactical advantage because the dev said so. I don't know. Anyway. So that was interesting. And then the DC penalty, like woo woo, where they said not only have disconnects decreased dramatically, like by 50% because of the DC penalty, but they haven't seen a significant increase in suicide on first hook. So I think it's done what it's intended to do. And I am fully in favor of DC penalties. So we have to take them at their word for the statistics. Hey, you know, I have people, before DC penalties, I had people killing themselves on first hook. So if people want to bail out, if they say that you have just as many people bailing out on games as you did before, I tend to believe it. So, what else? The whole camping thing about we're not going to do anything about camping. We don't want to take out player's choice. And saying that if you're not cheating, you can do whatever you want. 100% agree with that. Same thing goes for tunneling. Nobody has the right or should feel entitled to cry if they get camped or tunneled or moried, because the other player paid for their game. They can play the game in the way they choose. They don't have to play the game the way you want them to. And that's the bottom line. And I guess that's about it. Do I have anything else here? The one thing about the matchmaking rating adjustment, that they did say that they would perhaps adjust matchmaking rating on who you're matched up with if you're in Survive with Friends, that once matchmaking rating is going, that they're going to be able to determine if you have a higher likelihood of survival when you're in Survive with Friends, and they might match you up against more difficult killers based on that if they do see that there is this advantage of Survive with Friends. So that was an interesting point. I think that's about all I got out of that for notes. It was a good Q&A from home. I'm sad they didn't answer my question about reworking pig add-ons. Well, it seemed like they kind of said, we're not really going to tell you specifically. Just say, yes, we are considering reworking killers. We're always considering reworking killers, but we're not going to tell you which ones, because then that ruins the surprise of their blogs. For example, pass through on the Huntress add-ons and nerfing iridescent head hatchets. And the question about the Moris being changed, I do think that is something that they're going to look at. Yeah, and they also talked about that anti-aliasing setting. So it was a good one. It was a good one. I liked it and I enjoyed it. It was about what I expected. I didn't really think that there was going to be anything revealed for new content today. I have a feeling that they're going to hold everything until the anniversary celebration. So I didn't think it was going to be earth-shattering. And I was glad that I went through and read all the questions ahead of time. So once the, I wasn't like playing catch up when they said what question they were going to talk about, because I'd read through them. So I knew what the questions were possibly going to be just from reading through all of the questions. And so then what do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about this thing here? About 2 DLCs being added to make this into a separate video. What does this mean? It may be significant. It may not be as significant as you think, but 2 different DLCs being added to the Steam database. It means something, but we don't know what it means. So what if, when Matthew talked about other video games and he said, oh, you mean like Bill for Left 4 Dead? What if one of those DLCs is an extra cosmetic pack for more Left 4 Dead cosmetics? So rather than them sell individual cosmetics in the store of Left 4 Dead add-ons, they just go, boom, here's more Left 4 Dead cosmetics for your characters. If you want to dress up Ace as Nick or Adam as Lewis, for example, they just bundle it into one DLC. Here you go. We know they did something recently with Steam and Valve because they changed Bill's beard, and they can't do that without approval from Steam and Valve. So it could be as simple as they were already negotiating rights to get Bill on mobile, so they added in the beard change for Bill at the same time, the same way that they negotiated rights for Leatherface on mobile. And while they were doing that, they said, hey, by the way, we want to change what Leatherface's prestige chainsaw looks like, so can you sign off on that too? So I think whenever you're opening contracts with these parties you're working with, you're always looking for some extras, or you want to make sure you get everything into the deal that you're looking for as much as possible, rather than like, oh yeah, a week later, hey, I forgot this. Can we open contracts again? So it could be summer pack cosmetics. It could also be a charity DLC. Let's say, for example, that they have a charity cosmetic in there that they want to sell and have all the proceeds go to COVID-19 related charities. We know that our company here with Dead by Daylight, that they have taken the approach that they want to be as generous as they can. And it seems like that would be, a fairly simple idea for them to create a cosmetic and a separate DLC that people could buy, and all the money would go to charity. So some people think that means there's going to be, 2 licensed DLCs, but I don't know that that's the case. I can actually show you an example of when they released 2 DLCs like this, and one was, I think one was Saw, and the other one was Donkey David, the Donkey David jacket that they gave away in South Korea. So a second DLC doesn't mean, hey, we're getting a double feature of Candyman and Jason, but it could mean something big. But it could mean something small too. So I would not get my hopes up on a double feature. Team Xenomorph. Nobody cares about the DLC cosmetics. What? What did they say about license? He said that, we know that you guys like it, and we are pursuing that, but we can't talk about it. That was basically it. All right, so that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out and watching this with me. You can rewind it. It's gonna be all wrapped up and archived. If you missed any of it, you can watch it live. And I'll see y'all tonight for the regular stream. Who's the new killer? I don't know. Crazy. Have a great day. Thanks to y'all for watching it with me.